When you step off a plane in Houston, Texas, I mean, the heat doesn't just greet you. It physically hits you.
Oh, yeah, it really does.
It feels exactly like you've just walked face first into a wet, preheated oven.
It is this instant full-body realization that you're no longer the master of your domain.
Yeah.
You've left that climate-controlled illusion of the airplane, and you're now just entirely at the mercy of the Gulf Coast elements.
And trust us, as your resident travel couple who have, sweated through our fair share of excursions, we know that exact feeling. So, welcome to the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass. Today, we are taking you straight into the sweltering, sprawling, absolutely magnificent metropolis of Houston.
Yes, we are. And honestly, grab an iced tea, a very large, very cold iced tea, because today we're breaking down every single detail of the private NASA Space Center day trip with Houston City Tour.
Exactly. Our mission today is to completely demystify this experience. We aren't just reading you a brochure here.
Right, nobody wants that.
No, we're giving you the absolute inside scoop on what it actually feels like to be on this 5 to 8 hour adventure. We want you to feel the hum of the city, smell the smoked brisket, and stand just completely awestruck underneath a 36-story rocket.
We want to anticipate your doubts, dismantle the tourist traps, and give you the exact cheat codes you need to conquer this excursion. Because we've pored over the itineraries, cross-referenced the reviews, and combined it with, our own on-the-ground reality to figure out exactly how this tour operates.
And why it works, and how you can maximize every single minute of it. So, okay, let's unpack this right out of the gate, because I am putting myself directly in your shoes.
Go for it.
You're a savvy traveler. You're sitting there thinking, Houston is a major modern city. I have a perfectly good smartphone with GPS. I know how to hail an Uber.
Right, the classic DIY mindset.
Yeah, why on earth do I need to book a guided tour just to take me to a space center that the website explicitly labels as self-guided?
It is the ultimate modern traveler's dilemma. We are so fiercely conditioned to just DIY our vacations to save a few bucks.
Oh, absolutely.
But when you look at the sheer physics and the infrastructure of Houston, applying a DIY strategy is usually a massive miscalculation.
Let me push back on this a bit, though, because the stubborn DIY traveler in me is doing the math right now.
Okay, let's hear the math.
So this tour runs about $89 per adult. Now, it requires a minimum of 8 people, though there are luxury or private options if you have a group of up to 13 or 14.
Right, scales up.
But if I'm traveling with my family of 4, let's say, we are pushing $350, I can rent a car for the day for $60 or just get an Uber to NASA for $40. How does the math actually make sense here?
It's a completely fair challenge. It really is.
Yeah.
But let's break down the hidden costs of doing it yourself, starting with the geography. Houston is not built like a normal city.
No, it is not.
It is not a neat little grid with spokes leading to a center. Houston is a massive, sprawling network of overlapping concrete loops and feeder roads. You have the 610 loop, Beltway 8, the Grand Parkway.
It's intimidating.
It is. And if you are driving a rental car and you miss an exit on the Katy Freeway, the highway physics don't just send you to the next block. They fling you 15 to 20 minutes in the completely wrong direction.
And then you have to navigate the U-turns under the overpasses, which are an entirely unique Texas invention that defies all logic if you aren't a local.
Exactly. And that's assuming you aren't hitting rush hour traffic, which in Houston, by the way, seems to exist in this permanent state of gridlock from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah, rush hour is more of a rush half day.
Right. So the first hidden value of that $89 is the complete elimination of navigational anxiety.
Okay, I see the value in avoiding the stress, definitely. But what about the Uber argument? Just let someone else drive.
Well, even with ride-sharing, you are paying for surge pricing, you're waiting on curbs in the absolute humidity, and you still have to pay the $30 parking fee if you drive a rental.
That's a good point about the parking.
Yeah, and this excursion starts with complimentary, air-conditioned, door-to-door pickup.
Yeah.
If you are staying in downtown, the Museum District, the Galleria, Midtown, or the Texas Medical Center, a plush minibus pulls right up to your lobby.
So you step out of the AC of your hotel directly into the AC of your ride.
Exactly. Which, let's be clear, is a survival mechanism in Texas, not a luxury.
Oh, 100%.
And inside that van, they're handing out complimentary bottled water and snacks. I mean, in the Texas heat, you dehydrate before you even realize you're sweating.
You really do.
Having a driver constantly offering you cold water changes your physical stamina for the entire day.
Plus, there's this beautifully quirky little detail in the tour description that I absolutely love. You get one free souvenir for every 2 people in your party.
The math on that is hilariously specific.
It is. Like, if you're a family of 4, you're walking away with 2 souvenirs. You just have to decide who gets to keep them.
Hunger Games style.
Exactly. But it's those little curated touches that shift the psychology of the day. You aren't managing logistics anymore. You are being hosted.
It's like having a wealthy local friend who just insists on driving you absolutely everywhere in their nice car, handing you snacks and telling you stories.
Yeah, you wouldn't tell that friend, no thanks, I'll figure out the bus schedule. You'd just get in the car.
Precisely. And this wealthy local friend doesn't just bolt straight to the Space Center. That is a massive misconception about this tour.
Right, they don't just get on the highway.
No, you actually kick off the day with a 60-minute deep dive into the city of Houston itself.
And they don't mess around with this part. The itinerary takes you through the absolute highlights of the city to give you a true sense of place.
It is a masterfully curated sightseeing hour. They drive you through River Oaks, which is, well, it's effectively the lifestyles of the rich and famous portion of the day.
Oh, totally. You are looking at sprawling, multi-million-dollar estates with manicured lawns that look like movie sets.
The kind of mansions that probably have their own independent power grids.
Seriously. But it's not just gazing at wealth, you know? They take you past Sam Houston Heritage Park, City Hall, Discovery Green, and the George R. Brown Convention Center.
But here is where the how and why really matter. The guides don't just point at buildings and recite Wikipedia facts.
Right.
The reviews for this specific excursion consistently single out the tour guides. These are legends in the local scene with names like Greg, Alan, and Gary.
Shout out to Greg, Alan, and Gary.
Exactly. These guides explain the mechanics of the city. For instance, they explain how the downtown underground tunnel system works.
Oh, this is fascinating. If you don't know about the tunnels, you just think Houston's downtown is deserted in August.
Exactly, because it's 100 degrees outside, so nobody is walking on the sidewalks. The guide explains that there is a 6-mile climate-controlled pedestrian network 20 feet below ground that connects 95 city blocks.
That is just wild.
It's where all the restaurants, coffee shops, and banks are for the corporate workers. Knowing how to access that is literally the key to surviving downtown.
And that kind of insider knowledge leads to what I genuinely believe is the most crucial pro tip for anyone listening. If you are booking this trip, you have to do this on day 1 of your vacation.
It is a fundamental strategy shift. Do not wait until day 3.
Think about it. Doing this tour on your very first morning is like downloading the operating system for the city directly into your brain.
That's a great way to put it.
The guides are dropping massive hints on the best local restaurants, like where to get the best Tex-Mex, what tourist traps to avoid, how to use the metro rail.
It completely eliminates the fatigue of decision-making for the rest of your trip. You spend 1 hour getting the lay of the land from a seasoned expert, and the rest of your vacation essentially plans itself based on their recommendations.
It's brilliant. So, okay, you've soaked up the city, you have your mental map of where to eat dinner tomorrow, and then the van hits the highway for about a 30-minute drive out to the main event.
The Lyndon B. Johnson Space Center.
Ground control to major fun. But, okay, let's go back to the most glaring objection on the itinerary.
Okay.
The description clearly states the NASA visit is self-guided. So I'm challenging you again here. If I'm not getting a guided tour inside the facility, aren't we just paying a very nice guide to operate as an expensive taxi and abandon us at the front door?
It's the most logical objection to have. It really is. But the difference between a taxi drop-off and what happens on this excursion is the strategy the guides deploy before you ever step foot off that minibus.
They don't just wish you luck.
No, they don't.
So what is the actual mechanism here? How are they adding value at the door?
First, they physically hand you your prepaid admission tickets.
Yeah.
This means you bypass the sprawling, chaotic ticket purchasing lines at the entrance.
Which is huge.
But more importantly, the guide hands you a customized map and gives you a highly specific, crowd-beating algorithm for your next 4 hours.
Ah, so they are playing 4-dimensional chess with the tourist traffic. How does that actually work in practice?
Well, human nature dictates that when tourists walk through the front doors of the Space Center, 90% of them immediately herd toward the tram tour because it's heavily advertised and right there.
So the line immediately bottlenecks.
Exactly. Your guide, knowing this, explicitly tells you to skip the tram and walk straight to the Starship Gallery or Independence Plaza first, while those areas are completely empty.
That's so smart.
And they tell you exactly what time to circle back to the tram when the morning rush is all sitting down for lunch.
That is invaluable. You only have up to 4 hours there, which, I mean, it sounds like a lot of time, but the Johnson Space Center is a massive, sprawling campus.
It really is.
You do not want to spend 45 minutes standing in a static line for a tram when you could be staring at a piece of the actual moon.
Exactly. So let's talk about what you are actually seeing during those 4 hours, because the sheer scale of the engineering on display is just difficult to comprehend until you are standing right next to it.
We have to start with Rocket Park, specifically the Saturn V rocket.
The Saturn V is not just a rocket. It is an architectural marvel.
It's insane.
It is a 36-story tall machine lying on its side inside a massive hangar. This is the actual launch vehicle designed in the 1960s that had the brute force required to break Earth's gravitational pull and push human beings to the moon.
To put that into perspective for you, when you stand next to the F1 engines at the base of the rocket, the bell nozzles alone are wider than a car.
It's staggering.
And you have to understand the mechanics of what this machine was doing. It was basically a giant, controlled explosion. The Saturn V burned through roughly 20 tons of fuel per second during launch.
Standing underneath it, you suddenly grasp the audacity of the Apollo program. You realize that human beings strapped themselves to the top of a skyscraper filled with highly volatile explosives, guided by computers that had, less processing power than the smartphone in your pocket?
It is deeply humbling. It makes you feel incredibly small, but also incredibly proud of human ingenuity.
Yeah, it really does.
And speaking of ingenuity, you also explore Independence Plaza.
Right. This is where you see a high-fidelity replica of the space shuttle, aptly named Independence, sitting piggyback on top of the original NASA 905 shuttle carrier aircraft, which is a heavily modified Boeing 747.
Which, by the way, always broke my brain as a kid.
Me too.
How does a jumbo jet fly with a spaceship strapped to its roof? It looks aerodynamically impossible.
It does. And when you go inside, you learn exactly how they did it. They had to strip the 747 of all its interior weight, reinforce the fuselage, and add special aerodynamic tail cones to the shuttle just to make sure the combined monstrosity didn't fall out of the sky.
That's incredible.
You get to walk through both the 747 and the shuttle replica, seeing the tight quarters where astronauts actually lived and worked.
And the reality of that work is on full display at the astronaut training facility. This isn't just a museum exhibit of old relics. This is a working, breathing facility where current astronauts are preparing for upcoming missions.
You're looking down from an elevated catwalk into the space vehicle mock-up facility. This enormous warehouse contains life-size replicas of modules from the International Space Station.
And the reason they need life-size replicas on Earth is purely mechanical. Before an astronaut goes into zero gravity, they have to physically practice moving bulky equipment through very specific, incredibly tight hatches.
Right. It's all about muscle memory.
Exactly. They have to develop that memory in the mock-ups so that when they are floating in space, the movements are second nature. You might even see engineers working on the next generation of lunar rovers right there on the floor.
It bridges the gap perfectly between the historical triumphs of the 60s and the current reality of space exploration.
Now, because we promised to give you the absolute unfiltered inside scoop, and because we are your trusted travel couple, we have to issue some crucial insider warnings.
Yes, listen up.
These are the make-or-break details that can save your trip, based heavily on the experiences of folks who have walked this exact path.
Ignore these at your own peril.
Warning number 1, the food trap. I cannot stress this enough. Do not, under any circumstances, plan to eat a full lunch at the NASA cafe.
It is the textbook definition of a captive audience tourist trap.
It really is.
The reviews are brutally consistent on this. The lines are agonizingly long, it is painfully expensive, and you are ultimately paying a massive premium for a mediocre, dry hamburger.
But the real crime isn't the price, it's the time. You only have 4 hours. If you spend 50 minutes standing in line for a lukewarm basket of fries, you are actively robbing yourself of time you could be spending looking at the Apollo 17 command module.
So the mechanical fix here is simple. Eat a massive protein-heavy breakfast before the tour van even picks you up.
Yes, fuel up.
Utilize the free snacks and water the driver provides to bridge the gap, and just run on a full tank so you don't waste precious space time in a cafeteria.
Perfect. Okay, warning number 2. The security checkpoint. When you arrive at the Space Center, you have to go through a bag check and metal detectors.
Which is natural considering it's federal facility. But your guide will specifically warn you to leave any sharp objects, and most importantly, selfie sticks in the van.
Selfie sticks?
Yes. Security views them as extendable poles that could be used inappropriately around delicate exhibits or crowds.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
If you bring one to the door, it'll be confiscated, or you'll have to do the walk of shame all the way back to the parking lot. Leave it in the safe, air-conditioned embrace of the minibus. Take all the photos you want with your phone, but your arms will just have to do the extending.
Good to know. Okay, warning number 3, the weather. You might think, I'm going to a museum, it's mostly indoors, why does the forecast matter?
It matters specifically because of the NASA tram tour we mentioned earlier.
Right. The tram that drives you across the actual campus to see the Saturn V and the training facilities has completely open sides.
Which, on a beautiful spring day, provides a wonderful cooling breeze.
But if a sudden, violent Texas thunderstorm rolls in, and if you've never experienced Gulf Coast weather, storms can materialize out of thin air. It is brutal.
The rain doesn't just fall down, it blows sideways.
You will get soaked. So always pack a lightweight, waterproof jacket or a cheap plastic poncho in your day bag.
It takes up zero space, and it's infinitely better to have it and not need it. Finally, warning number 4, and this is the most vital clarification we can make today. Mission control.
Oh, man. Yes, let's clear this up because this causes so much heartbreak in the reviews.
When you say NASA in Houston, the immediate cultural association is historic mission control. The room with the green screens and rotary phones where they managed Apollo 13. Houston, we have a problem.
Right. Everyone wants to see that room.
But you need to listen carefully to the mechanics of this tour. Historic mission control is not included in the general admission-based ticket for this excursion.
This is a huge expectation check. If you walk in assuming you are going to see that specific room on your $89 ticket, you are going to be deeply disappointed.
Exactly. Because of preservation efforts and limited space, accessing historic mission control requires specialized timed entry tickets and additional fees directly through the Space Center.
So it's a whole separate thing?
Some luxury upgrades offer it, but on the standard day trip, it is not part of the package.
So manage your expectations. You are getting the astronaut training facility, the awe-inspiring Saturn V, the Starship Gallery, and Independence Plaza. That is more than enough to fill a fantastic 4 hours.
Absolutely. It really is.
Now, after 4 hours of walking miles across the campus, dodging sudden rainstorms, and absorbing the monumental history of human spaceflight, you are going to be absolutely ravenous.
Especially if you followed our golden rule and skipped the overpriced cafe.
Which sets us up perfectly for the final and frankly most delicious leg of the journey. This is an optional upgrade on the drive back, but culturally speaking, it feels mandatory.
You are in Texas. You cannot legally leave the state without eating barbecue.
Exactly. At the request of the travelers on board, the driver will happily make a pit stop at a real Texas BBQ joint on the way back to your hotel. Specifically, they usually stop at Rudy's Country Store and BBQ.
Now, to be crystal clear on the logistics here, this is entirely at your own expense. The tour company is providing the luxury transportation, but you are buying your own meat.
Fair enough.
But consider the mechanics of what they're offering. Finding authentic barbecue, dealing with the parking, and navigating back to your hotel in a food coma is exhausting.
Oh, it's the worst.
Here, your driver pulls up, you walk inside, and order half a pound of brisket that's been smoking for 14 hours over oak wood, a side of creamed corn, and a sweet tea.
I can literally smell the oak smoke just talking about it right now.
You can sit down and eat or grab it to go, and your driver is just waiting patiently in the AC to whisk you back to your lobby. That is stellar VIP service.
It really is. And it highlights a broader philosophy of the operator running this tour, All-Star Limousine and Tours. They have what I like to call a stress-free guarantee when it comes to time management.
Their policy regarding the schedule is incredibly rare in the group tour industry.
It is. Usually on a group tour, the guide is militaristic about time. They're tapping their watch, yelling, "Back on the bus in exactly 14 minutes, people, or we leave you behind."
It creates this underlying anxiety all day.
But All-Star's stated policy is that the group can remain at the Space Center until all has been seen.
There are no strict deadlines. They actively encourage you not to rush through the exhibits. It completely shifts the vibe from a scheduled march to a relaxed exploration.
It goes right back to the feeling of having that local friend driving you around. They are on your schedule.
And speaking of alleviating stress, we have to talk about their cancellation policy. Because for savvy travelers, this is where the rubber meets the road.
The fine print that actually matters.
You get free total cancellation up to 24 hours before the tour date.
Which is somewhat standard for premium tours, but for this specific Houston experience, it is a critical safety net.
Why is that?
Because of exactly what we discussed about the open-air tram and walking between buildings, this is an excursion that genuinely requires decent weather to be enjoyable.
Think of that 24-hour buffer as a financial umbrella.
Exactly. If you check the forecast the morning before your tour and you see a massive multi-day Gulf storm system bearing down on the city, you have total peace of mind.
Just pivot.
Right. Click a button, cancel the tour, get 100% of your money back, and pivot your itinerary to indoor museums.
It removes all the gamble from booking in advance. You can lock in your spot early, which is vital because this tour frequently sells out, especially on weekends.
Yeah.
But you aren't financially penalized if the Texas skies decide to open up.
So let's summarize the sheer value of what this day actually looks like.
You start by bypassing all the stress of Houston's concentric highways with a luxury air-conditioned pickup directly from your hotel.
You get a 1-hour masterclass in city geography, history, and culture from a legendary local guide, effectively downloading the keys to the city to optimize the rest of your vacation.
You utilize a masterfully orchestrated strategy to beat the crowds and maximize 4 hours at the Johnson Space Center.
You avoid the culinary tourist traps, dodge the selfie stick confiscations, marvel at the sheer explosive scale of the Saturn V rocket, and cap the whole day off with an optional mountain of authentic Texas brisket on the ride home.
It is a meticulously designed ecosystem of a tour.
It really is, and it proves why booking an experience like this through ExcursionPass is the ultimate way to guarantee a seamless trip. They curate these connections with top-tier local operators who just handle all the friction for you.
But before we officially sign off, considering all the massive history we've discussed today, the 1960 space race, the Apollo missions, the engineering miracles, I have a final, somewhat mind-bending thought I want to leave you with.
Ooh, all right, late on us.
Today, we are touring these massive rockets, these 747s and these command modules, as historical relics. We look back at them with a sense of nostalgia for the 20th century.
Right.
But if current and future missions are successful, well, if we eventually colonize Mars or establish permanent functioning bases on the moon, what will the heritage tours of the future look like?
Oh, wow. That is a trip.
100 or 200 years from now, will future tourists be riding in zero-gravity space vans, guided by the great-great-grandchildren of Greg or Alan, to look at the artifacts of our current era?
That's crazy to think about.
Will the rockets being built right now today be the vintage museum pieces of tomorrow's lunar tourism industry?
That is a wild perspective shift. It makes you realize that history isn't just a static thing that happened in the past. We are actively building the museum exhibits of the future right now. That is definitely something to chew on while you're enjoying that brisket.
Indeed it is.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this journey today. Remember, you don't always have to assemble the vacation flat-pat furniture blindfolded.
You do not.
Sometimes the smartest move you can make is to let the local experts take the wheel, beat the crowds, and guide you safely out of the preheated oven.
And always, always keep the air conditioning on high.
Keep exploring, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive from the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass.